Hello everybody, this is Hero. This is my Soul Level 6 New Game Plus Pure Blackwell Tendency playthrough of Demon Souls. This is World 3-2, which is the MANEATERS world for anyone who's interested or has heard the name but you didn't really quite know which world they're in. This is the world they're in, and the MANEATERS are commonly considered to be one of the harder bosses in the game because they are basically, if you take the gargoyles, if you're coming from like a backwards perspective where I am, like where I came from Dark Souls to Demon Souls, then they are basically the gargoyles except much harder, more punishing, and they tend to knock you off the platform that you're on because you're up on a really thin walkway the entire time you're fighting them. And it also happens that when the first Maneater dies, because there are two of them, just like the gargoyles, when the second Maneater comes, there's no like little mercy that they give you in the fact that the second gargoyle had half health when it came in. No, the second Maneater has full health, and so this is why they're considered to be one of the harder bosses in the game, because they have flying aerial attacks, they have their magical attacks that they use in the air, they also have a headbutt attack which they like to use a lot, and they have there's some interesting claw attacks which are like, well, just to be frank, they have some interesting phantom range sometimes, but that's more down to the player not really noticing how to dodge them than anything else, because like in most games, even if it doesn't really hit you, there usually is a way to game it to recognize that where they're hitting isn't necessarily where they're going to actually hit you. It's just one of those things that we have to, as gamers, learn to live with and then adapt to. Every time I come through this area, my goal for it is to get through the first two stages, which is releasing the chains on the heart in the center of the Tower of Latria, to just be able to get to, like, because once you drop the first chain, then you've got to go through into a second area, which is much further down. It's like the base of the swamp down at the bottom of the tower, and there you drop the second chain. But if you die after you've done the first chain and you still need to do the second chain, then you start all the way at the start of the level, and you basically need to do everything that you'd already done to get the first chain broken in order to come back and get the second chain broken as well. And after you've broken the second chain, the way to the boss opens up, and it's actually it's not really close, but it's a very straightforward walk from where the Archstone respawns you at after you die, and to get to the Maneaters. So at least it's that. It's not like the King Allant, the old King Allant walk, where not only is it a difficult journey to get there if you take it a particular way, but it's also a bit of a... No, sorry. Not only is it a difficult boss, but it's also quite difficult to get there in the first place. So you're not just fighting the boss, essentially, you're also fighting the things that are on the way to the boss, which is the way the game's meant to be played, really, but sometimes it can feel a bit cruel because you're saying, well, I can't even beat the guys on the way to the boss, how am I going to beat the actual boss when I get there? So as you can see, we just freed Yurt, the Silent Chief, who is basically... Everyone spoils this in every walkthrough, and he even looks like the guy, so I'm giving you a warning now if you really don't want to know, but 3, 2, 1... Yurt is basically Lautrec from Dark Souls, or Lautrec is basically Yurt, because after you rescue him, after you free him from a cage, just like you do in the other game, he comes back to the Nexus, and he starts killing people. He doesn't actually start killing people that are necessary to the storyline, because apparently other people stop by the Nexus as well, and you just see a bunch of bodies pop up. But the point is that he's a bad guy, and I don't think he actually starts to kill any of the necessary people that are there, like Saint Urbain, or I guess if you rescued Uria, or Patches is in the Nexus, or Ostrava if he manages to get there. But the point is that he's a bad guy, so you just have to try and you can kill him, but I don't think I was able to in this playthrough because I was afraid that killing Yurt would actually give me some points of black character tendency, so I actually didn't end up killing him this time around, and no harm came to anyone, but I still felt like an idiot because he's so sinister. His voice actor, I think his and Lautrec's voice actors, very good. They were very, very good. So it's like the moment you hear them speak, you know that they're not a good guy and you've just unlocked their prison cell. And it's like, well, shit. What are you going to do? How are you going to fuck up my game? And it must have surprised people in Dark Souls a whole lot more, because not only did he do something bad, but he wasn't just like a bad guy from a lore perspective. Like, he didn't just kill random people that you didn't even know. In Dark Souls, he kills your firekeeper, the person who keeps your bonfire lit at Firelink Shrine, which is basically your hub world. So he basically removes one of the most useful bonfires in the game for a person who's going through the game new. And that can be so annoying, especially if you are doing, say, a challenge run and you're just starting to do the Four Kings, and then you realize that you don't have a bonfire up in Firelink Shrine, so not only do you have to make the run through Firelink Shrine, down through New Londo, and then make the jumps and the drops down to get to the Four Kings boss fight, but you have to start usually all the way back at the Undead Parish bonfire, which is such a... It adds about 25 seconds, 30 seconds to a run, which is... It doesn't sound like much, but when you're making the same run over and over and over again, you're just like, if there was a way to make this easier on yourself, you would. And just the fact that you let the firekeeper get killed, even when you knew that Lautrec was going to kill her, just it can add such a layer of frustration to it that you're like, oh, I guess I have to take on the Four Kings. Oh shit, that is a long walk. Just now these little centipede things that are crawling around that split up when they die or when they take enough damage, they're a bit creepy, like to see on your first playthrough especially, but after you've gotten through that first playthrough and you come back to this area, your problem with them stops being that they're freaky looking and that they're a bit that their attacks hit a little bit harder than you think they should, but it becomes the fact that you don't know really distinctly when you've killed them or not, because the animation of them splitting into two occurs whether or not you one-shot them or whether you two-shot them, because they have that priority, and I'm guessing the game doesn't really expect you to be one-shotting them at this point, and I don't know, it's a bit unsettling, because you don't know quite whether you've killed them or not, and sometimes you'll think you have, and you'll take a few steps forward, and then suddenly they fly at you because they're not dead yet. He's not dead yet, and he decides to attack you and kill you. Now this guy is sneaky because he's waiting around the corner, so what I always do is I just trigger him just a bit there and just walk back and fire arrows at him, because getting close to these guys and hitting them with the sword without getting hit is very tricky, because they're very proximity based, as a lot of the enemies in Demon Souls are, because as soon as you get into their range they will attack, and if you've locked onto them, especially to the smaller versions of these guys, the smaller guys like to jump at you, and their jump isn't a little jump, it's a fairly big jump. Not to mention the fact that even if they do miss you and they do go behind you, they can usually fuck with your lock-on if you are locked on, because they end up zooming behind you and the camera goes, whoa, we have to keep up with him, and turns the camera really, really fucking fast. so you end up getting maybe a little bit disorientated. This guy is also sneaky, hanging around the corner, so we know just what to do with him. Stick arrows in his face. And now we're creeping up on the second tower just here, and the way over to the second tower is a bit... It's not really difficult, but there is a Black Phantom on the bridge that we're going to take care of first. And just past this wall here on either side of the bridge that leads out over to the other side, on my right side just here, I think we're going to see him now in just a bit. Come on, because I'm looking at that gargoyle there, and yeah, and then I saw an arrow, and I'm like, whoa, what the shit? What happened? Where'd that come from? And turns out there's actually another one of those gargoyle things off to the right. You can see his wings flapping now, just up there, and I've just seen them, and I've gone, oh, I wonder if I can be cheeky and hit him while he can't even see me. But it doesn't seem like the wings are able to be hit, like they don't have a hitbox or something, or the arrow was just going like between them every time I shot, which I don't really see as what was happening, but you never know. And these guys are good when they're aggressive, because if you can switch to the longsword, then if they land behind you, they have a period where they're still landing, so they can't turn to face you and they can't attack, but you can capitalize on it, and you can just do I usually just do a couple of heavy attacks to take care of them, because they have about 700 health in New Game Plus. And right here I'm trying to be cheeky again by hitting him in the wing, but I think I'm just missing here. I think I can actually hit him, but I'm not sure. And what's he done now? He's just buggering off to the end of the bridge. Lovely. What a bitch. says the person firing arrows with the thief's ring on. So, I guess glass houses. But I think I remember speeding some of this up. I don't remember when it comes in. Oh, that's right. It's now. That's right. Because this took a long time, just trying to get him to come up to where I'm standing at the moment. It took so long, and he's being so flippy about it, and then all of a sudden I'm going, oh shit, reverse roll, hit square, hit circle too many times, and now I've fallen off the edge through the geometry. This happens, I don't know why this happens, it's just like a miscollision, I guess, with the geometry, and you just fall through to like the very, very bottom of the map because you managed to miss a kill box at some point. And yeah, that happens in Shrine of Storms a lot, especially where you typically kill yourself to, say, get back to pure black tendency from the Adjudicator's Archstone, because you go, oh yeah, there's just a convenient ledge here, I'll just pop my Stone of Ephemeral Eyes and drop off, and you fall for like 45 seconds, and then you eventually die because the game goes, you're not supposed to be falling for this long, I'll just kill you. So right now I've just cut out the journey the way back to, and I've just got myself back to when I managed to kill that guy, and there's no one left that I can see at the moment, so this is when you make the run for it, because once you get to the end, you can just go up the stairs and up the elevator, and not having any enemies there is just, I guess it's a bit of a saving grace. It's a big relief to just get through this part. So this second tower, for those who are curious, at the top of this tower there is a small set of stairs that you can go up, and once you go up there you see that across a small gap there is a body, and on that body you don't currently know what's on it, but what's on it is the special key that unlocks Riddell and what's his name, Sage Frake's cells. And oh shit, how did you get here? He just dropped down. And I used that key in my first playthrough because I got to pure white and I did all the white world events in every world, and I collected that key and went back and freed Sage Frake and freed Riddell. And freeing Riddell was possibly one of the smallest but most convenient, well, I'm glad I did that kind of thing for New Game Plus, because he gives you the cat ring, which under normal circumstances is a bit of a nothing ring. It's really circumstantial, because what the cat's ring does is it stops your character from receiving fall damage, and it just says that it reduces fall damage, but it's basically fall control, the spell from Dark Souls, except as a ring. So as long as you can survive the fall, you don't take any damage when you hit the ground. So it's really useful for, say, when you need to fight bosses that require you to take some pretty lengthy drops in order to get to them. See Flame Lurker, and given the amount of times that you'll likely be facing Flame Lurker, the fact that you have this way to just activate hyper mode when you want and then drop down, and you don't even have to take any fall damage, because if you had to take fall damage, then what would basically happen is you'd probably die before you got to the bottom. So what you'd have to do then is figure out how much of a hit you have to take at the beginning before you start taking falls, in order to work out like how many drops you have to take to get to the bottom, but also with hyper mode out. And then even if you haven't made it by then you also need to take into the account the fact that you probably need the magic sword Makoto to get your life drain up, and it's a whole lot of fuss for not much benefit, when I'm really, really glad that I had the cat's ring, because that means that you can just activate hyper mode at the beginning, then put it on, then make all the drops you need, and right outside the fog gate you can just take off the cat ring. And I think I put on the Eternal Warriors ring, which is another ring I was thankful I got, because I got that by killing the old King Doran in the mausoleum in Boletarian Palace, the place that I showed you in the very first episode, where there are a couple of Red Phantom Red Eyes Knights and a normal Red Eyes Knight there. And what the Eternal Warriors ring does is it gives your character a stamina regen effect, like the Chloranthy ring from Dark Souls. And it's very, very useful against bosses, particularly who you feel you need just that little bit more stamina against, because fighting against Alent, you can find that you might do like 2 attacks and then roll twice in a row, but you need to roll that third time, and in order to roll that third time you need just a tiny bit more stamina than you actually have with the standard regen rate. And the Eternal Warriors ring can make it so that you get exactly the amount of stamina that you need, and it can make it's not a huge difference. Like it's not a green blossom or anything, but it is a fairly substantial difference when you realize you can make just one more roll, and one more roll can save you from having to do an entire 18-minute stretch from the Archstone to Alent all over again. So as you can see, I got a bit butt fucked by the octopus head guy's hyper armor when he used his spell. So I didn't fire my arrows at him close enough together in order for him to keep getting stunned. So I got hit by a soul arrow, and so that was the last enemy on the way to the Maneaters. And well, I want to talk on the Maneaters, but I also just want to kind of watch this, because I didn't go very well my first handful of tries. I don't know. This is basically like when I went through the game the first time and I fought the Maneaters, I already had the Morion blade, so when I was trying to learn to do this no damage, it was a much less painful experience, because I only had to hit them 4 times. I had to hit each Maneater 4 times before they would die. And when when I consider that there is an opportunity almost every time they do an attack for you to move in and get 2 hits on them, then just being able to kill them in 4 hits is a bit of a difference. And I think the Maneaters in New Game Plus were one of those bosses that definitely got a bit of an HP buff, because these guys do not take 4 hits each. They still take pretty few amounts of hits, really, but they don't take 4, that's for sure. They probably take about, just judging by what I saw there, they probably take about 9 or 10 hits, maybe 8 to 10 hits, depending on when you hit them. And I hate that attack. But one of the fantastic things about this is that you can actually, like, you can stop them from doing their magic attack that homes in on you really slowly by cutting their tail off, which I think is a fantastic. Oh, excuse me, I just cut that out, but I just sneezed, which I think is a fantastic idea, because you can just cut the tail off and then all of a sudden you've tactically removed one of their abilities to fuck you in the butt. So this is, I think this is the successful run right here, because when they stand still like that and the green stuff starts just pouring out of their mouth, then when you do a hit against them, when you score a hit, I think you get an extra 50% damage against them, because instead of me getting about 600, I get about 900 when they do that. That attack, that headbutt attack, is just so much pain. But it's also times like this, like then, I am surprised I didn't get hit there, because as I discovered in a previous death, when I hit, just hit him, and then holy shit, look where he is. That was a very lucky roll. I only just saw him in time to make that roll. Yeah, when they make that headbutt animation, when they do that attack, even when it's just against a wall and they don't necessarily even move, their entire body turns into a weapon and they will hurt you. They will hurt you bad. So I always like to fight them in this area, because I don't trust the circular bit in the middle. See, look, he does that little fiery bit, and then, look, I hit him for 1575 with 2 hits. And there's the Maneaters taken care of, and that probably took me about an hour and a half to do. So it was painful, but it honestly didn't take me as long as I thought it would. So yeah, good night, Maneaters. And now we just have to, I'm not even picking up my bloodstain. I probably only had about a couple thousand souls on him. And look, 99,744 souls, and I think I probably got a little bit less than that because I killed the octopus guy on the way up here. 99,000 souls is about 20,000 souls less than I got for killing the Dirty Colossus. And that is an injustice, I think, because Dirty Colossus took me about 20 seconds, beat him the first time I saw him, and I have beat him the first time I've seen him, every time I've seen him. And these Maneaters, they took me, I don't know, I probably died about 10, 11 times against them, just trying to get my way to, just trying to win. So I don't know if that was just from paying you for the Dirty Colossus for having to deal with 5-2, which in all honesty is probably a lot worse than 3-2, but yeah, Jesus Christ, was not fun. But Tower of Latria 3-1 and 3-2 have both been really long levels. Tower of Latria is probably one of the longest levels in the game, and because of this, you sort of just expect another really long third one, like you did with like Shrine of Storms as well, but it's not. You just have this little staircase on the way to a final boss fight, and because I'm playing offline, and because I think I've seen every other challenge run in Demon's Souls done basically offline, I decided to do it offline as well, and I don't even think that if I was online I would have been able to get a player in to play as the Old Monk, because that's what happens in this game, because this boss fight is against an enemy called the Old Monk, and the Old Monk summons in a player to fight for him, and that player is basically the final boss of the Tower of Latria. And because this game is region locked due to servers and that kind of a thing, people with the US can't play with people from Australasia or Europe, I don't think. So you have these things where even if I had a friend who could play the game with me and be online at the exact moment that I go to fight the old monk, it's unlikely that I'd be able to find, say, someone Australian, because I live in Australia, and have them be able to fight me instead. So what you have here is just a fight against the old monk's little henchman, like the NPC wearing his crazy hat, and I think he has dual claws and I think a talisman of beasts as well, which I think he uses to cast those. I'm not quite sure what he does actually, because it takes a really long time before he's able to, like before the soul masses actually come up. I think it's called soul mass. I'm not quite sure if it's called that in this game, but I don't know quite what he does with the talisman that he gets out, that he switches to in his left hand. But what I'm waiting for with this boss is to wait for him to do the big punch, the big uppercut, because eventually he does do it, and when he does it, you just want to capitalize on it, because even though he's wearing a lot of armor, it's not like Dark Souls, there's no poise, so as soon as he whiffs an attack, you should just be able to roll right in and hit him as many times as your stamina bar will allow. But see, he had the soul mass up at that point, but then he just did the attack right again, so I said, alright, I'll just run in and hit him 4 times again. And he only has to do this a few times in order for me to win. So at this point, you'll see, at this point of the boss, his soul masses, like the number of projectiles he summons when he fires the soul masses, increases to about 4. And I think I do a roll attack at some point. Yeah, see, I wanted to go in and attack him then, but he had 4 soul masses protecting him, so I decided not to. So what do? I roll away, and I roll back. Come on, another big swing. I'm being extremely evasive. Yeah, there we go, the roll attack. And now he's really aggressive. He's actually running, and he did a running attack at me, and he's doing a bunch of attacks. So you can see that even this fight had a bit of a stage to it, because as the life bar gets down, the game tries to mimic the patterns of an actual player who perhaps panics when they get down to low life and gets a whole lot more aggressive. But yeah, I did that, I think, on my second try, which was, I meant to do it on my first try, but I just had to face the fact that I hadn't really fought him too much, and I think I got clipped by one of his really fast punches when I was close. So that was the Tower of Latria. That was the end of the Tower of Latria. That was 3-2 and 3-3. And once again, you get less souls from beating the old monk than you do from beating the Dirty Colossus, which I find hilarious. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.